All right, high rollers, looking forward to our conversation today. Black Friday was a nightmare for most online poker players across America, but for this guy, you might say it gave him a new outlook on life. Before April 15th, 2011, he was sponsored by Ultimate Bet, but when Black Friday rocked the poker world, he was forced to change paths, and that he did. Threw himself into business, opened a restaurant and bar, and he's also a cannabis wholesaler in Colorado. Poker player, poker junkie, Christopher Womack. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being a high roller today.
What's up, High Roller Nation? How's it going, Derek? Appreciate you having me on the show. Yeah, Black Friday, weird day. Wake up, government screen, government screen, and no money.
Yeah, what was that like for you?
Shock and awe. I mean, I was a child of the moneymaker era and been playing online for 7 years up to that point, and it was a big upset. I mean, gut shot. All of a sudden it's like, what do I do now? I was in Colorado in Breckenridge at the time, so ski resort town. We have Blackhawk real close by, but at the time, the highest betting limit at Blackhawk was $5 a bet, so we didn't even have cash games. We just had tournaments. It was just a gut shot. Basically, you have to rearrange your life. It was like, I want to work hard, I want to do good, but I guess I'm not doing it through online poker anymore.
Right, so you have to make some big decisions. I imagine that process, getting into business, the bar and restaurant business, becoming a cannabis wholesaler, it's all scary, but also rewarding at the same time, right?
It all happened at once. It really did. It was I happened to be in the right place at the right time. With generationally speaking, an aspect of we just had legalization here in Colorado. We've been growing a long time here in Colorado, but it goes along with the hospitality scene. It really does. Like, it goes along with the poker scene. It goes along with the ski and snowboard scene. So hospitality, being in restaurants, being in cannabis sales, and even being at poker, you're kind of still in sales when you're at the poker table. You're trying to sell yourself and keep your customers happy. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there's any similarities between poker and business, but you just outlined a real good one there.
yeah, I mean, how I look at it is, I think Negron, you said it best. I mean, don't be disrespectful at the table. Don't annoy people. Don't get under their nerves. You know why? Because those are the people that are paying your bills. That's where your money's coming from. So you could be the best poker player in the world, but if nobody wants to sit next to you because you're degenerate or obscene, then you're not going to. It's going to take your bankroll a little bit slightly further down than it would have been.
Yeah, I was just watching a video this morning, Lyman Poker, where he talked about letting the recreational players lose as they wish. I mean, I hate it when some so-called expert just starts berating a bad player, and that bad player takes their money and leaves. I mean, let's just have fun. Let's get in there. Let's treat them well, because you're right, they're paying the bills.
They're paying the bills, and that berate somebody, that always cracks me up at the table. It always cracks me up when somebody's trying to give somebody advice. I'm like, if you were at war with somebody, would you tell another country how you would have acted before, after, or during a war? No, you're not. You're at war at that table. You can be friendly, but essentially the underlying tone is you're at war. You want to get those chips, as many as possible, as fast as possible, especially in tournament. I mean, in cash, you could roll along and wait for that hand and really stick it to that one guy. But as far as tournaments, I mean, you really need to push that envelope in the aspect of getting those chips, having a good table image, and following through with that. And the moment you're called out, that table image goes down. The moment you cuss at somebody, the table image goes down. Some people, it might work for them, all of a sudden they're an aggro player and they want to get under somebody's nerves, and all of a sudden they think they're going to get more calls that way or more play that way. To who's his own, though. I mean, that's not my style, but I like to think of as definitely everybody is customer, and we're in the hospitality business, so you might as well be entertaining and have some fun. I mean, going back to kind of what you said about social media, or not social media, but media, yeah, everybody's gotten too technical, too complicated. It's like, hey, you got to remember, 95% of your audience is the recreational poker fan, and all of a sudden you're three times, you're flat, you're slow roll, all these technical terms that are thrown around in our poker playing days every day. But into the everyday home, this is lingo that is almost like I'm too cool for school.
Right. Well, I find it funny. I find it funny when, these so-called experts at the table start giving off all this advice. And, I'm listening. They're giving off all this advice to the rec player. First of all, the advice is all wrong. And secondly, I'm thinking, buddy, keep your mouth shut. This guy's having fun. Don't scare him away. That's what they do a lot of the times.
It's an ego. It's an ego thing. There's many egos at the poker table. Some of them involve berating players. Some of them involve maybe you're going to tell that player you might know more than them, or tell them when they 3-bet, why don't you just shove every time? You shove and they're not gonna call because you solidified that you had the nuts. Well, that's more advanced play. Maybe they need to live their own experience, and especially while at the table, you're screwing up other people's money. It's not that money that's going to you. It's not the money that's going to the next person. It's just the money at the table. You're affecting the money by talking about strategy. Talk about strategy at the bar. Talk about it afterwards. Talk about it at the pool afterwards. Talk about it in your social groups, realgrinders.com. Talk about it on High Roller Radio. Talk about it on the Drunken Donk Radio. Talk about it on these forums that are meant for it. At the table, do your work. Everybody, do your work. And your work is sometimes entertaining your customers, keeping your mouth shut. And then, you know what? When you want to walk away, maybe look at 10 more hands and then walk away. Don't be that guy that wins a big pot and then walks away.
I want to talk more about the poker media and hashtag King Salomon Ponte in a minute. But first, we had Dutch Boyd on the show, 3-time bracelet winner. He says that marijuana is a huge part of the poker subculture. Do marijuana and poker go hand in hand? And can you talk about the differences between marijuana and how it relates to alcohol in terms of the dangers involved?
Yes. So Dutch, big shout out to Dutch. Love him. Been a big fan of his for a long time. He does great things for the poker community. Awesome guy. As far as marijuana in the subculture of the tour, you can call it the tour, whether it's MSPT, HPT, WSOP, or WPT. All these tours, it is a major part. As soon as that tournament break comes, you see people gathering. Hey, you coming with me? You come with me? You come with me? You see buddying up, and then you instantly go to the garage, and then you're like, wow, it's a freaking party in the garage, parking garage all of a sudden. Comparative to alcohol, I think a major percent of poker players smoke marijuana or cannabis to relax, to almost make themselves pause and look at the situation another 5-10 seconds. You don't get that gut reaction with marijuana to just react and push all in or call. You're gonna sit back. But with alcohol, most players don't drink. Most players do drink after the tournament. During the tournament, alcohol could cause that gut reaction of I call instantly. It could get your ego involved. It just affects the psyche in a different way. Same thing like with if you go to a concert and people are smoking marijuana, most time it's chill. If you go to a concert and it's sponsored by an alcohol vendor, you probably see the police walking around looking for fights. So I believe it gives a slight advantage, especially to those of us that are ADD in the poker community, to just slow down a little bit and look at the situation and then make a judgment call from there instead of the instant snap call or the instant snap all in or just making gut reactions. As far as in the community with comparative to alcohol, here in Colorado, everybody from out of state always asks, "Oh, is everybody stoned out there in Colorado?" There's been no change in Colorado in the aspect of culture or subculture of marijuana. And one way to say it, marijuana smokers or cannabis smokers in Colorado have got more snobby. We don't care about 420. Every day is 420 for us. That's the April holiday. We don't want to break the rules and smoke in front of a cop. We don't want to do these things that draws attention to us. It should be a normality. So there's no reason to treat it as a big festival of look what I'm doing, the government, look what I'm doing, police. That might have been the story 10, 20 years ago. And that's the story in some states. And that's the people speaking up to the government and saying, hey, this is us, this is what we do. But here in Colorado, it's really business-like these days, everything's spreadsheets, everything's numbers, everything's price point, everything's lab reports. It's really come a long way, and we're the poster child for the world as far as the cannabis sales go, and CBD sales. And CBD is the medicinal drug of the medicinal molecule of marijuana or cannabis that actually has the amazing healing properties that handles seizures, helps with autism, helps with muscular dystrophy, I could keep going on and on, but the CBD is the true medicine. And as far as coinciding with the poker world and Las Vegas, you're going to see more and more of this intertwining happen because how you brought up and how I've been speaking about, it is, I don't want to say a percent, but it has to be close to half of poker players, I believe, on tour are smoking pot. And you've even heard about this at some points. People getting knocked out of tournaments because they're busted by security in the parking garage, and all of a sudden their chip stack is at a table getting blinded off because they've been eliminated from the tournament because they've been banned from the property. That's a topic that's been brought up a lot about the World Series now with cannabis legalization in Las Vegas now.
Well, we had Jess Wellman, speaking of the poker media, we had Jess Wellman on not too long ago, and she says that you got to be careful, marijuana smokers, if you're heading down to Vegas for the World Series of Poker, because not everyone has the same attitude as Colorado. You could probably get 86th from the WSOP if you get caught.
Definitely. I read that same article. I definitely believe that's true. So if you're a cannabis smoker, maybe you should switch to one of the e-cigarette vape pens that has cannabis infused cartridges. But there again, it's really not the city, it's the properties. And when it comes to the properties, it's not the properties, it's the insurance companies that work for the properties. And we'll see. It's going to be a big deal when it's somebody major, but I don't believe we'll be seeing anybody leaving a final table to go smoke pot and come back. So it'll probably happen in the lesser of the rounds in the beginning or the second day. So
Well, you're heading down to the Rio this summer for your third World Series of Poker. First of all, that first World Series of Poker is always nerve-wracking. You got any advice for anybody heading down there besides not smoking marijuana on the Rio property? Any advice for first-timers heading down there this year?
first timers, listen, prepare. You're gonna have shock and awe. It is gonna happen. And I encourage you to have shock and awe. Walk up to the Rio, take pictures, be awed. Look around. You're going to see famous faces that you might have been seeing on TV your whole life, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh. A game is a game is a game. But plan. My first World Series, I didn't satellite into mine. I was paying full value, $1,500. I didn't have the events written down. I stayed on the Strip. I stayed at Planet Hollywood. It was a great first experience, but it was an experience. I wasn't there to play. But my second trip, I went in prepared. I mean, I had a full schedule written down. I had people that knew I was there. At this point, 2 years ago, I didn't have a Twitter account. I've only been on Twitter about a year and a half now. I didn't have Twitter, and so I had all my Poker Pro buddies saying, "Why aren't you on Twitter? You have a ranking. You need to be on Twitter." So if you have some kind of ranking on Hendon Mob, put yourself on Twitter. You know what? You're going to help yourself out. Maybe you can get in an extra event because you can sell half yourself. But the big thing that I could tell to first-timers is prepare. Look at that schedule. You know what? Don't think about Vegas as a party. That's not what you're there for. All you need to think about is that 10-spot table, and that's it. Everything else is obscure. I stay in Summerlin. I like to stay off the Strip. I don't eat food on the Strip anymore. During the World Series, I like to have meals prepared. It's all about preparation, having that mindset. And the first thing to do when you get knocked out of a tournament is not to go to a craps table. It's not to go to a roulette table. It's not to go to the bar immediately. You need to reassess your head because you're there to play a lot of tournaments. If you think you're going to win every single one of them, you're not. Prepare yourself for that. But prepare yourself to walk away and not walk into the bar or a house or a table game at the casino. Preparation. Sleep schedule. That's the biggest one. I know you're going to be in Vegas. Get to bed at 9, 10 o'clock. And that's why it's easier to get a house off the Strip. You don't feel like you're in the casino. So I'm going to keep going back to this word preparation. Go grocery shopping. Plan all your meals. Go to Vons. Vons is great. Shout out to Vons. Vons is great. It's a great grocery store. But there again, it's about getting yourself in that mindset. And like you said, Derek, when you first get there, it blows you away. You're seeing these steps. You're seeing banners with World Series stuff. You're reading signage. There's people from all across the world, different nations, just walking past you, walking all over. You're like, who's this? You're seeing sponsor patches. Don't worry about any of this shit. Half those sponsor patches are off eBay.
Well, I'll tell you what, my first World Series was the same thing. I found myself looking around the room. I couldn't believe all the people. I saw the faces that I've seen on TV, and I found myself not really concentrating on the cards, and that changed the second time around indeed. Can you talk about the value in playing satellites and how you approach satellites? Because, I'm a guy that goes down, plays one or two events, and I pay full price.
So, with satellites, I'm prepared. I have a full World Series schedule out right now. I'm prepared to buy in those tournaments. But every single one of those tournaments, I plan on at least shooting one or two satellite bullets in. It is so worth it. Even if you sold percentages of yourself, those people still own that percentage if you get a satellite into that tournament. It just costs you a lot less. It is the way to go. The way that the World Series is valued, there are so many side events going on at the Rio and around town, but there's so many satellites. So if you're going to Vegas, you don't have the biggest bankroll, there are ways to get yourself into events. And the biggest way is satellite. So going back to my previous answer on, if you get knocked out of a tournament, don't go to the bar, don't go to the roulette table, don't go to the pool. Get your ass in a satellite and start grinding. Grind it hard again. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what this is about. And you're going to regret it if you leave a week or two later and you're like, oh, I could have been playing in the Rio dailies. I could have been playing in the satellites to all these events. There's ways to get into events that are cheap. Big shout out to William Kassouf. In for the men, out for the max.
That's right.
That is the name of the game, folks. Try to get in as cheap as possible and walk away. I mean, your game will be so much better in that tournament. If you know that tournament hasn't cost you anything, and you're sitting down with, say, 5,000 to 10,000 in tournament chips, you're gonna have a good time playing, and you're gonna play cards at its purest. You're not gonna be worried about these buy-ins, nor should you be worried about the buy-ins before you get in. But satellites, I mean, that is the way to go. I mean, pros as big as Cord Garcia, who won the first Colossus, and Ben Keen, they still satellite in HPT events and MSPT events. These guys are guys that have won 6 and 7 figures, but it's all about the satellite. Mathematics and business is business, and that is a big part of poker business.
I'll tell you what, you gotta love William Kassouf, 9 high like a boss, in for the min to get the max. Love it. All right, great references today. Listen, poker media. You say the poker media is too soft, it's too biased, and you really became involved in the Salomon Ponte, the hashtag King saga. What do you think about poker Twitter, the poker media? What's happened with the hashtag King? Give us your summary of all of that.
Okay, I get it with him. He's an asshole. He does this, but from what I got from my interview from him, it's majority an act. I mean, when that camera's up, that means his personality's on. He's going to do it. There's been a lot of people that have done this, whether it's through sports, through music. I mean, we're seeing it through poker now. We're seeing somebody take the idea of social media and media and push it to its extremes, talking the most crap. And, I mean, I kind of like it. I'm not that guy. I'm a nice guy. I would never do this stuff at a poker table. I am the most boring poker player there is at the table. I'm quiet. I might have a few comments, but that's not me. But nobody wants to watch that on TV. Nobody. Everybody, I mean, like I said, going back to the 95% of people that watch poker on television, not these live streams, not on the internet, but to the mainstream America, they want to see some action. I mean, these head-butting hands, bad beat hands, aren't going to happen all the time on live TV to get the ratings up. So, I mean, it kind of takes me back to, I mean, it really reminds me of Havad Khan from many World Series ago. He was dancing around and being an ass. Everybody hated him. And yeah, he's not as present as he was in poker back then, but it made the game exciting. It made television exciting. And sorry for some of these pros that want to just cruise. I mean, when I say pros, I mean high roller pros that just rather shake hands and nod heads. I'm like, well, you're going to win the $8 million, but you're not going to have any TV ratings. And so as far as Salomon goes, I believe a good majority of it is real. And I mean, it's obviously real because it's on social media, but it is there put on social media to boost. Obviously, what he did, he boosted himself to the most popular poker player of the past, I think, 2 weeks now. And going back to the kind of elite poker media or snobby poker media, I mean, I was in touch with Joey Ingram, and I have nothing but respect for Joey Ingram. You know, he's a great guy, but some of the things he said to me actually threw me off. I tweeted him. I said basically. With poker these days, it's become elitist with the lingo, with the way that you talk about. I was hanging out with this guy the other day, hanging out with this guy. I believe poker media needs to be more unbiased. You need to stick to your shoes. I mean, in a tweet that he sent back to me, he said I aim a majority of my material to poker pros and to players like myself, and I took that as a snide remark, saying that. So you don't care about the other 95%. You only care about, and Joey Ingram put himself in the elitist of I'm a poker pro. I'm like, and I'd really never looked up Joey's stats before. I was like, my stats are pretty close to his. I've never claimed to be a poker pro. I've claimed to be a professional shark killer, but that's some different terms. But it's gotten too friendly. These guys have known each other for the past 10 years. They want to interview each other, talk about having drinks, talk about this, but it's just become too friendly. And then you throw a guy like hashtag King in there, Salomon Ponte, and he's ruffling feathers. He's like, I don't care about what it used to be. I don't care about this. You know what? I'm going to use you. I'm going to use that microphone. I'm going to use this camera, and I'm going to say the most extreme thing I possibly can. And you know what? Everybody's reacting. Hate it or love it. Everybody's reacting. I mean, Daniel Negreanu, I mean, like, people watch Daniel Negreanu for a certain reason. People watch Doug Polk for a certain reason. People watch even Sean Deeb, bitch-ass bird, for a reason. Because he slow rolls. They watch Daniel Negreanu because he's the smart aleck that somehow is nice. Doug Polk is the genius of communication and poker theory communication. Certain people have these niches. Who cares if Salomon Ponte is mean and degrading? It's not you, and you're still watching it. And it really goes back to, like, I remember when Sean Chacon and Mike Mattisau were pulling the fake fighting on World Series of Poker. I can only imagine what the WSOP producer was telling them. Okay, you guys are arguing at the table? Act like you're going to fist fight away from the table. They were never going to fist fight. They were never going to fist fight. That was like the lamest, aggressive 10 seconds of WSOP footage I've seen. I was just like, oh my God. Producers are just egging this on, like, you only get kicked off the rail for 10 minutes. Jeff Eiffel and Matt Savage, we have a deal with them. I can only imagine.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've taken some heat. I had him on 3 times. The first 2 were planned. One was to promote the upcoming Poker Night in America, and then I had him on right after the debacle of that episode. And then he contacted me a day later and said, we got to do it again because the audio was bad. And I'm not going to say no. First of all, he took time out twice to be on. And when he wants to do something, I did it. I was a fan, man. I was excited to watch that episode, and I did. I'm a fan of these characters of the game. I like the Tony G's, the Mattisau's, the Hellmuths. I mean, they make it interesting. And for some of these people on Twitter to pull the almighty, I mean, are they perfect? I don't think so.
It was, I loved it. I mean, shout out to Joey Ingram, shout out to Holden Radio. They came at me, and I was like, wow. I was like, I must be doing something right here because it was.
And by the way, I just got to say, I love Joey Ingram, man. I love him.
I love him too. I have nothing against him. It just caught me off guard. I was like, such snide comments that were totally uncalled for when I was being constructive, very constructive with him. It was just caught me off guard. I was like, wow, you've reached that pinnacle, my friend, haven't you? Okay.
What do you think of this adventure of Salomon Ponte, and where do you think it goes from here? In all honesty, I mean, he sort of rose to the top, like you said, the most talked about poker player in the world right now. But I don't think he's going to find too many more games to play in. Can he? I mean, where's he go?
That was a big thing. These properties are owned by umbrella companies. I mean, Caesars owns a lot. MGM owns a lot. I mean, he says he's taking a 10-month break to go to Israel. I don't know if while he's in Israel he's gonna write apology letters or somehow get back onto these properties. But there again, I mean, I don't know his overall plan. I mean, if he plans to play poker more. I mean, if there's a show, I mean, we should produce it.
Absolutely.
I mean, he'll have to make that decision whether he wants to play poker or he wants to be on a reality show. But I think both are there for him. I've watched a lot of his poker playing. I don't agree with it, but like I said, everybody has different strokes, different folks. So somebody's poker theory to somebody else's poker theory might not work. He just gets a lot of action because he throws money around. But there again, he's either losing or doubling up. So I'm more of a grinder. And there again, I'm not a cash player. I'm a solid tournament player. So I've only seen about a few things of tournament footage of Salomon there.
Yeah, epic ride from the bottom to the top and maybe back down to the bottom. But you know what? I was watching. He was very entertaining, and I agree with you. I think most of it was just an act. All right, real quick, because we're well past time here. I got to ask you about the Bering Sea. Is it as dangerous as they say it is up there in Alaska? And quickly, talk about charity. I know you're donating 5% of your proceeds from 2017 to charity for a good cause.
Okay. So that question gets asked me to a lot about the Bering Sea. Is it as hard as it looks? It depends on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to my mom, it's easy. It's so safe. It's nice. If I was talking to the general public, I almost died like every day. There was days, I mean, it's a sick job. You make good money, but it becomes a point where you laugh at death so much that you look back on it like, wow, I almost died here today. I almost died here today. I almost died here. It's war. It's war with nature out there. And I always bring up the fact it's one of the closest things. Shout out to our military here in America. You guys do great things, whether you agree with our government or not. I'm talking to our soldiers. They do great things, but I always try to let them know is like we lose almost anywhere from 5 to 10% of our fleet some years. I mean, we don't lose 5 to 10% of our military years, so it's a close knit group in the Bering Sea, and a lot of people do die. It was one of those things I did as a young man to make some money, get in and get out. And then at that point, when I got back from Alaska, that's when I started my marijuana edible company and really got involved in the cannabis industry. After that, I strongly advise it. The best thing I got from the Bering Sea was not the money that I brought home. It was the work ethic that I brought back and the appreciation for life. There's nothing like seeing a smiling face sometimes when you're on a boat in the Bering Sea and you're about to die every day, and then you look around the boat and you're like, I don't want to die with any of these crappy dudes. You like them and you're brothers, but everybody's just, I mean, it's a very alpha male situation. Everybody's cussing and very to the point, but I'll never forget that time in my life, and I appreciate every moment of that. Going on to charity, I'm involved in a lot of charities here in Colorado. I'm involved with the Scottish Rite Eye Foundation in Denver. I'm involved with the Scottish Rite Children's Hospital. I'm involved with Lafayette, Colorado's band camp, and I'm actually the head of the Policeman of the Year committee.
Wow.
Being a major cannabis advocate here in Colorado, they allow me to be the head of the Policeman of the Year committee in Lafayette, so I get to pick out a policeman. But what I want to talk about with charity is I went through something that probably a good 30% of America will go through. Somebody close in your life will get cancer. It's a serious subject. It's a sad subject, but it can be beaten these days, and it can be beaten through donations. It can be beaten through information. It can be beaten through regular checkups to your doctor. You have to catch it in the beginning. My brother earlier this year had a lump on his left testicle and got it checked out, and he was found out that he had cancer. And this is my little brother, and I'm 35 years old. My brother's 30. So that's a major blow to think that your little brother has cancer. And the big part about it is to realize what stage. And stages mean different things. And so this is what I talk about, the information. He ended up having stage 2 cancer, so it spread. He went through 3 sessions of chemotherapy, and I'm proud to say he's cancer-free.
That
was
great.
As of last week. I'm so proud of him because he handled chemotherapy like a champ. And that's probably the hardest part about it. Cancer doesn't hurt. It's the chemo that hurts. So that's what drove me major this year to donate. I'm going to be donating 5% of all my winnings at the World Series and live events. I've already made $800 this year, so I donated that. I've added that $800 to the 5%, but I'll be donating 5%. Poker players, you know what? Find a good cause. You're going to win all that money, and you're going to find out that, you know what? You're still living the same life. Donating that money or donating a portion of that money will give you a tax write-off. That's the financial good part about it. But the internal, you will be helping somebody. You'll be helping an organization. And I'm telling you, if you've not been affected by cancer yet, you will be affected by cancer in your life. If it's not a family or friend or somebody in your life, this is what gets the education. This is why my brother's alive. I will tell you a statistic that'll blow your mind. Since 1970, there was only a 68% survival rate of testicular cancer. That's guys. That's all us poker players. Like, that's a lot. And now it is a 98% survival rate. That is from donations. That's from research. That is from information. That is not from the cancer just lied down and took it. No, our medicines have gotten better. It is all about the chemotherapy. So people, donate. You're going to feel good. Have a cause. Have a why. You know what I'm saying? If you're playing poker for the money, you might still make it. But you know what? You'll never be satisfied. You'll eventually go broke because you'll get that million, or you'll be very, very lonely. So find a good cause, guys. Donate. Be involved in your community. Be involved in the greater poker community. This is just a game, guys. Just a game. You know what I'm saying? Cancer is real life.
Hear, hear. You know what? You talk about being affected by cancer. My mom went through it, lung cancer. They caught it early. She's been in remission for many years now, so thankfully they caught it early. But yes, deadly disease. You can fight it, and that's a great cause. And, you know, poker is such a degenerate lifestyle for many that you look at the elite pros, the guys that seem to be well balanced. These are the guys that are giving to charity. These are the guys that are doing well in the game. I don't know if it's a karma thing or what, but they seem to have balance, and it's a simple thing to do, right?
It is. It is your why. It is why you're living. I mean, what us humans need is we need shelter. We need food. Those are our basics. You know, once you start getting all this material crap around you, good for you. And if it's for your ego or for somebody else's ego, good for you. But you know what? That's your life you're living. To help somebody else's life and to be part of somebody else's life and improve their life, it's one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody.
Christopher Womack, thank you so much, man. We're going to have you on again soon. Appreciate your time today.
Derek, thank you so much. I look forward to staying in touch to the World Series. I'll be keeping updates on Twitter at Womack303. Also, I'll be doing live feeds on RealGrinders.com if anybody out there is a member of that Facebook group. And looking forward to a great summer. So it's going to be a fun time. My first event is the casino employee event. I'm a client specialist for Denver Poker Tour. So this is my first casino employee event, and look forward to be back on the radio with you real soon, Derek.
I'd love to be talking to you about a bracelet soon, man. Good luck at the Rio this summer. At Womack303 on Twitter. Real Grinders, is that right? RealGrinders.com?
Yeah, RealGrinders.com. If you're not part of the group, it's a closed group. We have some very tough administrators, so you got to know somebody to get in there, but great poker talk all the way from micro stakes all the way up to high rollers.